What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today I've got some more Entitled Parent stories for you, so sit back, relax, and let's get straight into them. Entitled Mum comes into homeless shelter and gets angry at us for feeding freeloaders. I work at a Salvation Army as a food services assistant. That basically means I work the food counter and ready the meals for those who need them. One day this lady walks in. There is no way she is homeless, as she is wearing Louis Vuitton sunglasses and name brand shoes. Hello, if you want to volunteer, do it on the website. If you need to close this socialist hub down. This was maybe the funniest thing anybody had ever said to me, and I tried my hardest not to chuckle. Excuse me? Why can these people get food? If they get it, I deserve it too. Mom, this is for people who can't afford food. Well, I deserve food. My son deserves food more than these freeloaders. Right, son? She says, turning around. Her son is not there. Hold on. What a weird start to the story. This mum is so entitled that she's forgotten about her own son because she wants some free food. What is going on? She walks out, and about 15 seconds later, her son walks in with her. This kid, probably 7 or 8 years old, is playing on an iPhone 10. It's definitely his. Mom, you do not need food. Your son is playing on an iPhone 10. Well, I help society. Why do these lazy freeloaders get free stuff? A voice from behind me says, freeloaders? I turn around. I recognize the guy. He had been in and out getting care packages and meals for weeks. A very nice guy. You female dog, I've done more for society than you. I worked for Habitat for Humanity, building houses for people who needed them. I volunteered after natural disasters, but when my house burned, I lost everything and nobody helped me. Now I'm here. Both me and the entitled mum were awestruck. She just backed out the door. Was that all true? Nah, I'm just a writer. I haven't laughed that hard in months. What an ending that is. It's got to be one of the best endings I've read so far on this subreddit, really. I think this is how you deal with entitled people. Just make up crazy stories that make them feel bad about themselves, so they just leave and get out of your hair. That was a very enjoyable story on the whole. It's always good to see entitled people get the karma they deserve. Anyway, with that one out of the way, let's move on to our next story. Now, just a quick warning, this story is definitely PG-13, so bear that in mind, please. Neighbours tried to label me as a prostitute because I was sexually active. I lived in Melbourne, Australia for about a year from 2013 to 2014. There I met a gorgeous same-sex couple, Brian and Derek, names changed. They were both bisexual. They lived in the same building as me on the floor directly above mine. I soon entered into a sexual relationship with both of them. We would have threesomes and sometimes more. Besides the awesome sex, I also became really good friends with them and we're still in touch. It was tons of fun for all involved. Oh, well, yeah, certainly sounds it. Among my neighbours were a middle-aged couple with 2 children. They live right across the hallway from me and were quick to judge us after seeing Brian and Derek exiting my apartment early in the morning on more than one occasion. The woman, Karen, asked me in the elevator what I was doing with those 2 gays. I politely told her it was none of her business. When she kept on pestering me, I told her, if you must know, I'm friends with benefits with them. Now leave me alone. I still remember the look of shock on her face. I don't think she expected me to reply so brazenly. When I told Brian and Derek about this, they shared their own experience in dealing with them. This couple was rather homophobic too and had tried to talk to the property manager about them moving into a building with families and children. They were told to F off, just not in so many words, but anytime either or both of these guys were in the elevator with them or ran into them in the parking lot, the husband, let's call him Todd, would stand between them and his kids while giving Brian and or Derek angry looks. He must have been trying to prevent his kids from catching the gay, of course. In the weeks that followed, the entitled couple continued to give me the stink eye anytime they saw me. I just smiled back at them sweetly, which annoyed them even more. On one occasion, their teenage daughter said good morning to me and tried to make small talk before her mother dragged her away by the arm while berating her for talking to that woman. Interestingly, their kids seemed very well behaved and nice, and I truly felt sorry for them. My next door neighbours, another couple with kids with whom I got along very well, later told me that the entitled mum had tried to get them to file a noise complaint against me. According to the entitled mum's logic, since I shared a wall with that family, they could probably hear all the ungodly noises coming from my apartment, and they should complain in order to protect their children. The nice couple told them they would do no such thing, as I had never bothered them and they had never heard any such noises coming out of my apartment. One night, Brian, Derek and I decided to have a foursome that would involve the 3 of us and Brian and Derek's friend Dean. The next morning, Dean asked if he could come back to my place with me. As it was a Sunday morning and Dean was hotter than heck, I agreed. As he and I were walking down the hallway to my place, Karen was just getting out of hers. She saw Dean and I smiling and talking and his arm around my waist and approached me, asking angrily if I was being a sex worker and selling your body. I told her she was insane and asked her to kindly F off. Later that day, I received a call from the property manager. She wanted to let me know that Karen and Todd had complained that I was a prostitute and that it was dangerous for their children to be in the same building as me. They told her in great detail about how I was bringing home different men. The property manager had gotten to know Brian and Derek quite well and had an inkling that I was friends with them. So she contacted them and they told her all about the entitled parents' crazy behavior and accusations, and that the man they had seen with me was a mutual friend. There was no prostitution going on. The property manager dissuaded the entitled parents from filing any sort of false complaint against me, as it could cause a world of trouble for them. I thanked that kind lady and later had a good chuckle over it all with Brian and Derek. The blatant harassment from Karen and Todd had stopped, but of course the hateful looks continued. On one occasion, when we were in the elevator together, Karen tried to make a pathetic attempt at shaming me by condescendingly asking if I was going to have any men over that night. What she didn't realize is that shame about my promiscuity is something I'm entirely incapable of feeling. I proceeded to tell her in great detail about all the sex acts I was going to engage in that evening. I mean, she's the one who asked, right? After this fun little interaction, she and her husband avoided me completely. Good times. Oh, I absolutely love the malicious compliance at the end of that. I guess you're right, she did ask you, so yeah, you gotta tell her what you're gonna get up to. Nothing wrong with that in my opinion. To be honest with you, it sounds like she might just be a little bit jealous of what you're getting up to. It sounds like you're having a good time and she's probably not with her husband. I don't know. I think the main point is just don't worry about what other people are doing in their lives. It's not affecting these entitled parents, so just butt out. It's not your business. Now moving on to our final story. Now don't worry, I think this one will be a little bit less promiscuous. I am the queen of passive aggression. My hobby used to be making quilts from vintage cloth. I would buy the cloth, usually flour and feed print sacks from the 30s and 40s at flea markets and antique stores. I pieced them by hand and sewed the squares together on my old treadle sewing machine. Then I would hand quilt the tops using vintage blankets as batting and older cotton thread. This took a lot of time, but the end results were beautiful and heirloom quality. Besides, it was a lot of fun. One year I made such a quilt for my brother-in-law's birthday, husband's younger brother. He and his wife freaked out over it and thanked me profusely. 2 days later, my mother-in-law walked into my house without even knocking. Her reasoning was that it was her son's house and therefore her right to do so. I'd been super busy all day and had just sat down on the living room floor to play Super Mario Kart with my boys. I was surprised to see her. She usually avoided me if my husband wasn't around. She snorted at me when she saw me on the floor and asked me if this is what I did all day, and then added that it must be nice to have so much free time. I have always worked from home. You would be surprised at how many people think that this isn't a real job. Then she dumped a bunch of fabric swatches out of a bag onto my sofa. Yeah, in many ways that's actually quite similar to YouTube. A lot of people don't think it's a real job, but it definitely can be, and it does take a long time. Also, working from home is not something to be embarrassed about. It's pretty awesome if I'm honest. Before I could ask her what she was doing, she started telling me that she wanted a quilt like the one I made for my brother-in-law, but she needed hers to be bigger and with these colors. Oh, and she wanted new cloth, not that old junk. She brought these swatches so I would know what to buy for her quilt. At first, I was too stunned to speak. Then I was too angry to trust my mouth. My two boys never liked this woman and they scrambled to their feet and ran out of the room. I envied them for this because I was stuck facing this cow alone. This woman had always been as awful to me as she could. She had told my boys to their little faces that they were not her grandsons because they looked nothing like her son. She told her other grandkids this too, so we weren't singled out. She had told all of her 5 sons that she would only recognize her daughter's kids because she knew those were her grandkids. She only claimed the other grandkids as hers when she wanted to look good around other people. This woman had tried to fix my husband up with other women for 5 years after we were married. This woman, who had been trying to make me freak out for the past 18 years, was so entitled that she thought I should do all this work for her for free. So I looked through the swatches, asked for the dimensions she wanted, as well as the block pattern. I thought for a few moments, then told her, yeah, I can do all that for about $5,000. I figured that this was a large enough sum to freak her out and make her go away. If not, well sure, I'll make her a quilt for that stupid amount. $5,000? But you just gave one to your brother-in-law. That was a birthday present. Well, then this can be my birthday present. I've never given you a birthday present. The only time I tried to, you handed it back unopened. You told me that you only accepted gifts from family or friends and that I was neither. $5,000 up front or no quilt. Frowning and pressing her lips together, she gathered up her stupid swatches and left. I opened the door for her and held it so she couldn't slam it. She was a slammer. As I watched her drive away, Anyway, I couldn't help but think how much fun that had been. So for the rest of the year, my husband's other 3 brothers got quilts for their birthdays. Also, to add insult to injury, I made them out of new cloth and not that old junk, as well as the colours and patterns my mother-in-law wanted, because I knew it would get back to her that I had done this. That crazy woman tried as hard as she could to guilt one of her sons into giving her their quilt. Nope, didn't happen. 1993 was a fun year. Yeah, it certainly sounds it. Honestly, the malicious compliance in these last 2 stories is just insane. I love it. I never thought that reading a story about a quilt would be so satisfying, but now I feel like I want a quilt. Can I get one for free as well? Overall, good story. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but the real question is what you're all forgetting. Did you win Mario Kart? I want to know. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this video. I really hope you have enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to check out another one. Can I get my hands in front? It's just hard to know which way my hand should go. That hand's got to go here. That hand's got to go there. Boom. Surely there's a video in there somewhere. I think there must be. Maybe something like that's a bit better. That might fit a bit better. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. See you later.